You need to listen to me very carefully because what I'm about to tell you changes everything you think you know about the Roloff family dynamic. We have spent years arguing over pumpkin season prices. We've spent years debating whether Matt should have sold the farm to Zach or Jeremy. And we've spent years wondering if Caryn Chandler is just a supportive girlfriend or something much more calculated. But while we were all distracted by the reality TV drama, the real story was hiding in the financial ledgers, buried under LLCs and miscellaneous expenses. And now, according to exclusive insider theories and reports coming out of Oregon, the House of Cards is finally collapsing. Amy Roloff has reportedly received a letter that every single American fears. A letter that doesn't just threaten her bank account, it threatens her freedom, her reputation, and her entire future. We are talking about an IRS audit. But this isn't a standard random selection. This is a targeted forensic investigation into unreported income and irregularities in the Roloff Farms corporate filings. And here is the terrifying part for Amy. Because she is still a shareholder, because her name is still attached to certain corporate entities from the past, she is liable. Imagine waking up, walking out to your mailbox, and finding a notice that says you are being investigated for tax fraud. You freeze. Your stomach drops. You think it's a mistake. You call Matt. And Matt acts like it's nothing. He tells you it's a clerical error, just a mix-up with the new accountant, just a dusting of paperwork that needs to be cleared up. He tells you to calm down. But the reports we are hearing suggest that Amy is not calming down, and she shouldn't. Because when the IRS freezes the books, they don't do it for a clerical error. They do it because they found smoke, and they are looking for the fire. The theory circulating right now is that this audit was triggered by the recent chaotic attempts to sell the farm. Think about it. Matt listed the property for $4 million. Then he pulled it. Then he listed it for less. Then he tried the short-term rental market. All of that asset movement, all of those changing valuations, that is exactly what triggers federal algorithms. The IRS started looking at the farm's valuation versus its reported expenses, and something didn't add up. The numbers weren't balancing. The farm was reporting massive operating expenses, costs that lowered their taxable income significantly. But the revenue from pumpkin season and the show was steady. So where was the money going? The IRS computers flagged a discrepancy. Millions of dollars were flowing out of the farm's accounts under vague categories, and the government wants to know who caught that money. For Amy, this is a nightmare scenario. She has worked her entire life to build independence. She wrote her books, she started her cooking videos, she married Chris, she bought her own home. She finally got out from under Matt's shadow. But if the farm owes millions in back taxes and penalties, the IRS doesn't care about her new chapter. They can come after her personal assets. They can put a lien on her house. If the fraud is severe enough, if they can prove negligence or complicity, we are looking at criminal liability. We are talking about prison time. That is the viral hook everyone is whispering about. Amy Roloff, the matriarch who just wanted to bake cookies and enjoy her grandkids, facing federal charges for taxes she didn't even know went unpaid. And this is where the story shifts from a tragedy to a thriller. Because when Amy starts asking questions, the answers she gets from the farm's management, specifically from Matt and his advisor, Caryn, are inconsistent. This brings us to the second phase of this disaster, the villain's defense. According to our sources and the prevailing theories online, the moment this letter arrived, the dynamic at the farm shifted overnight. Matt is reportedly in panic mode, but he's hiding it behind his usual business mogul arrogance. He's telling the family it's under control. But Caryn? Caryn is doing something very different. Caryn is on the offensive. The word is that Caryn is pushing a narrative that this is actually Amy's fault. You heard that right. The theory goes like this. Caryn is telling Matt and anyone who will listen that these irregularities date back to when Amy was still the secretary of the corporation. She's claiming that Amy didn't sign the divestment papers correctly years ago, or that Amy's sloppy record-keeping during the divorce caused these red flags. It is a classic gaslighting move. It's a deflection strategy. By blaming the person who isn't in the room, by blaming the person who hasn't looked at the books in 5 years, Caryn keeps the heat off herself. She's reportedly telling Matt, "You know how Amy gets with paperwork. She probably forgot to file the K-1s. She probably claimed expenses she shouldn't have." She is trying to rewrite history to make Amy the villain of this audit. But does that make any sense? Let's look at the facts. Amy has been off the farm for years. She has a financial team. She's meticulous because she knows Matt would love nothing more than to catch her in a mistake. The idea that Amy caused a massive federal audit in 2025 for paperwork from 2015 is laughable. The IRS doesn't typically go back that far unless the fraud is massive and ongoing. This isn't about old paperwork. This is about current money. Why would Caryn be pushing this blame game so hard? Why is she so desperate to make this Amy's fault? Usually, when someone points a finger aggressively, they are trying to distract you from what's in their own pocket. And that is where the deep dive into the consulting fees begins to open up a dark, dark hole. We need to talk about Caryn's role on the farm. For years, she was the farm manager. Then she became Matt's girlfriend. Then she retired. But did she ever really stop getting paid? Insider theories suggest that while Caryn officially stepped down from her employment role to avoid the conflict of interest of dating the boss, the money didn't stop. In fact, it might have increased. The rumor is that Matt and Caryn set up a structure to keep her income flowing without it looking like a salary on the payroll tax forms. Why? Because if she's an employee, she pays taxes. The farm pays taxes, and it's all very transparent. But if she's a consultant, if she's an external vendor, then the payments can be hidden in the expense reports. They can be buried under logistics, event planning, or strategic development. So picture the scene. Matt is sitting in his office, looking at the audit notice, sweating. Caryn is standing over him, whispering that they can pin this on Amy. "It's the divorce decree, Matt. It's her lawyers. They messed it up." She's trying to convince Matt to throw the mother of his children under the bus to save their own skins. She knows that if Matt starts digging into the current expenses, the ones she controls, he's going to find something that he can't explain to the feds. She is playing a high-stakes game of manipulation. If she can get Matt to believe that Amy is the problem, Matt will send his lawyers after Amy. Amy will be forced to defend herself, spending thousands on legal fees, while the IRS tears apart her life. Meanwhile, Caryn hopes the chaos will provide enough cover for her to fix the books, hide the money, or recategorize the payments before the forensic accountants get to the 2024 ledger. But here is where Caryn miscalculated. She underestimated Amy. She thinks Amy is just the emotional, scrambling ex-wife. She forgot that Amy Roloff has spent decades dealing with Matt's schemes. Amy knows when she's being lied to. And this time, Amy isn't just going to cry about it. She isn't just going to complain to the cameras. Amy is terrified, yes. She's looking at her new husband, Chris, and realizing they could lose everything. But fear can be a powerful motivator. The moment Matt told her, "It's probably your fault, Amy," something snapped. She didn't accept it. She didn't fold. She got angry. And more importantly, she got suspicious. Amy knows she didn't file those papers wrong. She knows her taxes are clean. So if the IRS is finding unreported income, it's not coming from her side of the fence. It's coming from the farm. And she still has rights. As a shareholder, even a minority one, or as a party to the unsettled dissolution of the assets, she has the right to see the books. The villain's defense is crumbling because the victim refused to play the role. Caryn tried to use Matt as a shield, but she didn't realize that Amy was about to pick up a sword. And that sword is a forensic tax specialist who doesn't care about reality TV drama, doesn't care about pumpkin patches, and certainly doesn't care about Caryn's retirement plans. He only cares about the numbers. And the numbers are about to tell a story that Caryn Chandler never wanted anyone to hear. This isn't just about an audit anymore. This is about a heist. And we are just scratching the surface of how deep this scheme goes. Amy Roloff didn't go to the farm office. She didn't call Matt screaming. She went quiet. And in the world of high-stakes litigation, silence is the most dangerous weapon you can possess. While Matt and Caryn were reportedly busy crafting their narrative that this was all Amy's fault, a relic of sloppy divorce paperwork, Amy was sitting in a conference room in downtown Portland with a man who doesn't watch reality TV. He's a forensic tax specialist, a guy who usually spends his time tearing apart the books of failing tech startups and corrupt nonprofits. Let's call him the auditor. Amy handed him everything she had access to as a shareholder: the K-1s, the profit and loss statements from the last 3 years, and the raw data from the farm's operating ledger. Her instructions were simple: find the money. If the IRS says there is unreported income, it means money came in and disappeared, or money went out that wasn't supposed to. She needed to know which one it was before the feds knocked on her door. For 48 hours, the specialist dug, and according to the timeline we've pieced together from insider leaks, he found something that had been hidden in plain sight. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a clerical error. It was a pattern. He found a recurring monthly payment labeled simply as external logistics. Now, on a farm, logistics is a normal expense. You pay for trucking, you pay for shipping pumpkins, you pay for moving heavy equipment. But this payment was strange. It was exactly $10,000 every single month, 12 months a year. Does a pumpkin farm need $10,000 of logistics in February? In March? In the dead of the off-season? No. The seasonality of the expense didn't match the seasonality of the business. That was the first red flag. The second red flag was the vendor. The payments weren't going to a trucking company or a local agricultural supplier. They were going to an LLC, a limited liability company, registered out of state, specifically in Arizona. The specialist did what forensic accountants do. He pulled the articles of incorporation for this Arizona LLC. He looked for the registered agent, and when he saw the name on the paperwork, he allegedly called Amy immediately and said, "You need to come down here. You are not going to believe who you are paying." The LLC wasn't a logistics company. It was a shell entity. And the registered agent? It wasn't a stranger. It was reportedly a direct family member of Caryn Chandler. The prevailing theory, backed by reports from close family sources, is that this entity is registered to Caryn's son. Let that sink in for a second. Roloff Farms, a company that Amy Roloff still owns a piece of, was allegedly sending $120,000 a year to Caryn Chandler's son for logistics. That likely never happened. Why? Why structure it this way? This is where the tax fraud element comes in, and this is why the IRS is involved. If Matt simply paid Caryn a salary of $120,000, she would have to pay income tax on it. The farm would have to pay payroll taxes. It's expensive. But more importantly, if it's a salary, it's visible. It's on the payroll records. Everyone sees it. But if you pay it to an LLC as a business expense, the farm gets to deduct that $120,000 from its taxable income. They tell the IRS, "We didn't make this money. We spent it on logistics." So the farm pays fewer taxes. And Caryn? She gets access to the cash through her family member's LLC, potentially filtering it back to herself tax-free or at a much lower tax rate, hiding it from the public eye. It's a classic embezzlement scheme disguised as corporate strategy. It's washing money through a vendor to avoid liability. And the worst part? Because Amy is a shareholder, she was essentially subsidizing this. She was losing profit distributions because the farm was spending money on Caryn's secret salary. Amy was paying for the lifestyle of the woman who replaced her. The rage that must have consumed Amy in that moment is unimaginable. But she didn't explode. Not yet. She realized that she had the smoking gun. She had the evidence that proved Matt wasn't just incompetent, he was complicit, or he was being played for a fool on a monumental scale. This wasn't about the divorce anymore. This was about prison. If the IRS determined that this was willful tax evasion, Matt could go to jail. Caryn could go to jail. And if Amy didn't report it, she could be seen as an accessory. She knew she had to confront him, but she had to do it smartly. She couldn't just scream at him in the driveway. She needed him to admit he knew about it or prove he was ignorant on the record. This leads us to the most explosive moment in this entire saga, the confrontation. Amy sets up a meeting. She tells Matt it's about the audit strategy. She plays it cool. She drives to the farm, the land she used to own, the house she raised her kids in. She walks into that office, the same office where Matt has schemed and plotted for 30 years. Matt is there. Caryn is there, sitting in the corner, reportedly looking smug, thinking they are about to bully Amy into accepting liability. Amy sits down. She doesn't yell. She pulls out a file folder. She slides a piece of paper across the desk. It's the bank record of the external logistics payments. Matt, she says, her voice shaking but firm, can you explain to me what this vendor does for the farm? Matt looks at the paper. He frowns. He puts on his glasses. He starts to stutter his usual excuses. Oh, you know, Amy, that's supply chain stuff. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand the new business model. He's condescending. He's dismissive. Then Amy drops the hammer. I know you think I'm stupid, Matt, but I know how to read a registry. I know this company doesn't move pumpkins. I know this company belongs to Caryn's son. The silence in the room must have been deafening. You could hear a pin drop. Matt freezes. He looks at the paper, then he looks at Caryn. And for the first time in years, the look on Matt Roloff's face isn't arrogance. It's confusing. It's a shock. This is the twist that insiders are debating right now. Did Matt know? Did Matt mastermind this scheme to pay Caryn off the books? Or, and this is the theory that is gaining the most traction, did Caryn set this up and slip it past him? Matt is known for being a micromanager, but he's also known for being lazy with the details when he trusts someone. He hates paperwork. He hands it off. Did Caryn tell him, sign this, it's for the Arizona distribution, and he just signed it? Amy doesn't let up. She presses the advantage. This isn't a logistics expense, Matt. This is a salary. This is a hidden salary. And you deducted it as a business expense. That is tax fraud. That is why the IRS is auditing us. It's not my divorce papers. It's your girlfriend's greed. Caryn reportedly stands up. She tries to intervene. She tries to go into defense mode. Amy, you're being dramatic. It's a legitimate consulting arrangement. My son handles digital consulting. Amy laughs, a cold, hard laugh. Digital consulting? For $10,000 a month? For a farm that barely updates its website? The IRS isn't going to buy that, Caryn. And here is the reality. I am not going to jail for this. I am recording this conversation, and I am taking this file to the federal investigator tomorrow morning. This is the checkmate. Amy isn't asking for an apology. She isn't asking for her money back. She is threatening to blow the whistle. She is threatening to hand Matt and Caryn over to the United States government on a silver platter. Matt realizes the gravity of the situation instantly. He knows what an IRS fraud investigation looks like. He knows it destroys lives. He looks at Caryn, and the dynamic shifts. The power couple facade cracks. Matt realizes that Caryn's scheme, whether he knew about it or not, has put his entire legacy at risk. If this goes public, the show is canceled. The farm is seized. He loses everything. He turns to Amy. Wait, don't go to the feds yet. Let me see the file. Amy slides it over. You have 24 hours, Matt. Fix it, or I will clear my name myself. She walks out. She leaves them in that office, staring at the evidence of their own corruption. Amy drives away, her heart pounding, but for the first time in a decade, she feels total control. She has them. But the fallout from that meeting is going to be more destructive than anyone anticipated, because Matt Roloff is a survivor. And when a survivor is backed into a corner, he doesn't fight the enemy outside. He sacrifices the person standing next to him. The alliance between Matt and Caryn is about to face a stress test that no relationship can survive. Matt has to make a choice. Does he go down with the ship to protect Caryn's secret salary? Or does he do what Matt Roloff always does? Look out for number one. The decision he makes in the next few hours is going to shatter the family forever. And the solution he comes up with? It's not an apology. It's a betrayal so cold, so calculated, that it leaves Caryn Chandler holding a tax bill that could bankrupt her while Matt walks away clean. We are about to see the victory phase, but it's a victory painted in blood and betrayal. Because to save the farm, Matt has to destroy Caryn, and he's going to do it with a smile on his face. The 24 hours that followed Amy's departure from the farm were, by all accounts, the longest of Matt Roloff's life. According to sources close to the production, the lights in the main office didn't go out until 4 a.m. Matt was on the phone with his personal legal team, not the farm's lawyers, and certainly not anyone connected to Caryn. He was in survival mode. He knew Amy wasn't bluffing. If she handed that file to the IRS, the consulting fee scheme would be exposed as tax fraud. The farm would face massive fines, potentially losing its 501c status if any charity components were involved, and he could face criminal charges for signing off on false returns. But Matt Roloff is nothing if not slippery. He realized he had only one card left to play. He couldn't deny the payments happened. The bank records were clear. He couldn't justify them as logistics. Amy had already debunked that. So he had to change the story of the money. And to do that, he had to change who was responsible for it. The next morning, Matt reportedly summoned the forensic tax specialist, the one Amy hired, back to the farm. He didn't invite Caryn. This meeting was just for the shareholders. He sat down, looked the auditor in the eye, and dropped a bombshell that effectively ended the war by nuking his own girlfriend's bank account. Matt's defense, his solution, was brilliant and brutal. He claimed that the payments to the Arizona LLC were never intended to be farm expenses. He told the auditor, this was a clerical error. These were personal payments. These were advances on Caryn's future earnings that she was supposed to handle personally. Do you see what he did there? In one sentence, he shifted the liability. By recategorizing the payments, he admitted the farm shouldn't have deducted them. That means the farm owes a little bit of back tax on the profit they hid. Matt wrote a check for that immediately to clear the company's name. But the massive six-figure tax burden, that didn't vanish. It moved. Because Matt formally declared that money as non-employee compensation that had been misclassified, he was forced to issue a retroactive 1099 form to Caryn's LLC. He essentially told the IRS, we paid her this money. We aren't deducting it anymore, so we're good. But she never reported it as income. The bus didn't just hit Caryn, Matt was driving it. The fallout was instantaneous. By issuing that corrected paperwork, Matt cleared Amy completely. The farm's books were balanced. The unreported income red flag was resolved because the farm admitted the mistake and paid the difference. Amy's liability dropped to zero. Her house was safe. Her reputation was safe. She walked away without owning a dime. But Caryn? The theory is that Caryn Chandler woke up to a notification that she now owes the IRS taxes on tens of thousands of dollars of income that she thought was hidden. And because it wasn't reported for years, she's looking at penalties and interest. We are talking about a tax bill that could easily wipe out her savings. She thought she was playing the system, getting tax-free money through a shell company. Instead, Matt hung her out to dry to save himself. When Amy found out, she didn't celebrate. She didn't gloat. She simply signed the release forms. She got what she wanted. She proved she wasn't the problem. She proved that the rot in the farm's finances came from the people currently running it. She protected her legacy and her children's inheritance from being seized by the government. The word on the street is that the atmosphere at Roloff Farms right now is toxic. Matt and Caryn are still filming. They are still together for the cameras, but the trust is gone. How do you share a bed with a man who just handed you a massive bill to the federal government to save his own skin? How do you trust a woman who tried to frame your ex-wife for embezzlement? They are stuck together in a trap of their own making, bound by the show and the secrets they still share. Amy Roloff won. She turned the tables in a way nobody expected. She didn't just defend herself, she forced the truth into the light. The audit that was supposed to destroy her ended up exposing the greed that has been rotting the farm from the inside out. Matt is safe for now, but he's alone in a way he hasn't been before. He sacrificed his partner to save his property. And Caryn is learning the hard way that in the world of Matt Roloff, everyone is expendable. But this story isn't over. The IRS doesn't play games, and neither do we. Caryn almost dragged the whole family down with her greed, and Matt just proved he'll do anything to survive. Do you think this is the end of their relationship? Can Caryn really stay with a man who threw her to the wolves? Or is this the beginning of the end for the couple that broke the Roloff family apart? Do you think Matt needs to fire Caryn immediately to save the farm's reputation? Or do they deserve each other? Drop your theories in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you want to be the first to know when the official breakup announcement hits, you need to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now.